There's already so much trauma. And then when you want to tell someone or it comes up, the reactions, yeah, they for me, they're, it can be huge or it's, oh. And that's really hurtful. They don't want to talk about it. They just, shake their head or you see someone get very uncomfortable. Or they they start asking questions. And that's normal. It's human to want a story, but if it's not your story, it's really not appropriate, I don't think.
Well, there's also no easy answers.
So, that too.
You know, if they say why, then you have to go into the whole thing. It's not just one thing. It's a layer of different things that were happening in his life and blah, blah, blah. And it either takes over the conversation and that's all you're going to end up talking about, or like you said, it gets cut off and then it's just awkward because you know why it was cut off.
Well, it seems to me like they're forcing you to take care of them.
Right. And it satisfies their curiosity. And what happens is you get left, the conversation ends for them, but it reopens things for you.
Totally.
And if you don't want to do that.
Right. You're not left with a choice.
Right.
Because they've imposed their need on you and now you're left taking care of them when you really should just be taking care of yourself.
Yeah. And especially in the earlier years.
Yeah.
When it's still so raw. I mean, I still think it's raw. Like I probably still have once a week little flurries of emotion around my dad. And, but it doesn't feel as unmanageable, but especially even up to a couple years ago, it was just still it's just such a thing to navigate. And like, how do you navigate it when you're so young and yeah.
How old were you? I know you were in college, but
I was 22.
22. That's really young.
Yeah.
That's super young.
And not realizing that. And then I remember it was a couple years ago, one of my sisters and I were kind of in a tiff, and I had said to my boyfriend, she's just 25. And then it kind of hit me for the first time. Like when I was 22, I was a baby. And I hadn't had that because I'm the oldest. So I had to, for me, I had to go into like, okay, and my mom is in and out of the picture. So she's not, she wasn't really capable of helping us. And so it was, it was very young. And the youngest was 12. So, cause we have 10 years, there's 4 of us.
That's really hard. It's hard to lose a parent at 12. There's so much you haven't even started developing at 12. I mean, at least at 22, you've gotten to a certain place. But at 12, I would imagine that would be very difficult. I know my dad's wife, her husband was murdered. And they had 3 kids, and the youngest was a girl who I think was 12 or 13. And man, I watched, because they started dating about a year or so after he had been murdered. And I just watched her process things thinking, this is actually about her dad being dead. Like, this is about her dad she's been robbed.
Yeah.
Like, robbed entirely of this development that she deserved. And it was really, my dad's a lovely human being, but that's not her dad. Right. He's a great stepdad. They're super close. I love that they're so close, but he couldn't have possibly filled those shoes. There's no way.
Well, because it's also involved with trauma. I mean, it's not an explainable death. He was taken.
He was taken. And suicide's similar.
Right.
That parent was just ripped from you unexpectedly. Right. Even if the parent, I would imagine, was suffering outwardly, was depressed, obviously. It's still, I think sometimes that's just so unexpected.
Right.
Especially for a child.
Yeah, I mean, you go to bed one night. I went to bed and I woke up the next day and it was like the ground opened up and we, me and my sisters have been slowly pulling ourselves out of the hole
right
ever since with, met with judgment in some cases from people giving us timelines and
timelines for what?
For grief and recovering. And
that's a bunch of bullshit.
It's been a month. Why aren't you?
That's a bunch of bullshit right there.
It's been 2 years. Why are you still upset?
Yeah, why are you talking about that?
You're in your 40s and it wasn't your dad. So maybe like you don't get to.
That's a bunch of bullshit. No one gets to tell you your timeline for your mental health and your healing.